So Tazim, let me ask you a question. By the way, for those watching the show, born James Timothy Watson Jr. But changed your name to Tazim. If just first and foremost, is that appropriate for me to ask why you did that?
Oh, absolutely. I've shared it. I've shared the story a number of times. I actually, right now on one of my podcasts, I'm kind of going into a number of the things that led to it. But it actually was pretty simple. I mean, I like a number of people who, in particular, are descendants of enslaved Africans. Were disconnected along the way from our lineage, so it's kind of hard to trace back to, okay, who, what was the original, where are we from, where are our people from? Well, obviously, as you kind of gain resources and gain access, you're able to do some of that stuff through both DNA and obviously records. And for me, I was able to trace mine and found out where I'm originally from. I mean, all the way back to the tribes in Guyana. And with that, you find your family names and kind of how names were given at that time. So for me, in associating a name with my character, my personality, that's how you come up with it, and you find something that fits who you are. And for me, Tazim Wajid Wajed, it actually means intense one who discerns respect.
Well, I mean, from seeing some of your articles and some of your podcasts, that is the African dead balls on description of you, my friend. I'm telling you. So Tazim Wajid Wajed.
Yes.
Now, is that a derivative of what your family name was, back in those times? Or is that those are just names as to what that character, like what that skill set
equals? It's right. It's derivatives of the name, but then of course, when you're naming the child,
right,
you're and it's interesting because it's, do you name it and kind of hope the child becomes that?
Right.
Because obviously,
because you could name a kid, like Stud, and he ends up being a pussy. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Right.
Or, you name somebody something, how we always call the big guys tiny.
Right. Or like, my name's Bubba because I was a big guy, but I mean, Bubba, you can't be 110 pounds and be a Bubba.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Now, did Christian ever have a nickname growing up when he was going to plant and everything?
Christian actually, his nickname was given to him when he was very young. I mean, I think I gave it to him. He was around 2, but Christian's nickname is Scooter, and we actually call him Scoot. And I mean, you're very rarely actually in dialogue between he and I see me call him Christian. I mean,
so you're like, Scoot, hey, Scoot, get your ass over here, Scoot.
It's Scoot. Yeah, it's been Scoot his whole life. And it actually came from, again, exact same way that we actually give names. I mean, it was how he was he was a tiny kid, but he was a ridiculous athlete, could run, jump, do all kinds of crazy stuff. And I don't know, I'm sure you remember a safety with the Philadelphia Eagles by the name of Brian Dawkins.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well,
I think like a 5-time All-Pro, maybe.
Yeah. But I mean, he's Hall of Famer now. So
and I was in Philly in the '90s when they had God, who was the guy? Eric. He was a badass. I forget. When I was in Philadelphia doing radio, who was the really good DB about a couple years before you for Philly? All-Pro. I can't remember. I thought his name was Eric something.
Eric McMillan?
No. So I don't know. Because you played for the
Well,
Eagles.
yeah, I played for them, but the guys who were there with me, I mean, obviously, that we had Bobby Taylor
Yeah.
on one side, and then on the other side is actually what is his position? Senior Vice President of Operations for the National Football League.
Oh, that's the guy from Wisconsin.
Correct.
Yeah,
Correct.
from guy
Yeah.
from Wisconsin. I forget what's his name. Stud. He was he was good.
The, you know what? And it's crazy because as soon as I'm looking at his face, I'm blanking out on.
Now you had to play it. When I was in Philly. I lived off of off of Bala Kenwood over there by St. Joe's University, and I remember how we got to go down on the field one time as a radio station for the opening day of the Phillies, and you guys played in the same place the Phillies did, and that AstroTurf was like concrete, like that. Oh my God! Compared to what they play in now,
it was horrible. That it ended. I think that's what ended. Who was it? Michael Irvin's career.
I think so.
I mean, it was some of the worst turf, and I think they said the Astrodome probably was the only one that kind of rivaled it,
or maybe Soldier Field, because it was a shithole too. I feel so sorry for Walter. Man, Walter could have gone. Walter was so good, but that surface at Soldier Field. Now, did you ever play in the Pontiac Silverdome? Was it cool? Was it pretty good? I mean, I know they destroyed it, but I think in its time it was pretty state of the art, wasn't it?
It was way better than
the vet.
And of course the Astrodome, which I played in all of those old stadiums that had the true AstroTurf on the field. And Troy Vincent is who we're talking about.
Yeah, Troy Vincent.
I played on all of those fields, man, and the real crazy thing is, and the guys and I talk about it now who I played with in college, it was like we played a full career on carpet on top of concrete.
Yeah.
And obviously, there's that layer of cushioning in between the carpet and the concrete, but it's still carpet.
It was probably a treat. It was probably a treat to play at Lambeau Field and some of these places that had grass, because that was like, oh man, as far as like position players like Christian and running back, that they take far more abuse. Whereas like you, I think you were a corner, weren't you, Tazim?
I was a corner in college, but I was a safety my last 2 years of college and then into the NFL. So my entire NFL career, I was a safety and grew into a nickel linebacker. So that was the way I got a little more time in the league, was when I got up to like 230 pounds, I was playing linebacker.
And like, man, this brother's too big to be a safe. We got to put him in there, mixing it up with some running backs. Did you ever have to tackle a Walter Payton, a Barry Sanders?
Walter was before my time. I played against Barry.
Right.
But Walter was before my time. The interesting thing about running backs, people see the huge guys and think those were the guys that were tough or hard to tackle. But really, it's the guys who, they can be stout, but the ones who had the most leverage. So Emmitt Smith hurt.
Yeah.
It hurt to tackle Emmitt Smith. And one guy who, not necessarily a real popular name, but certainly the Chicago people remember him, but Raymond Harris.
Yeah.
Raymond hurt. Raymond, you tackle Raymond, you knew you've been there.
And I think Earl Campbell was before your time too, because that was a load. Yeah. I mean, Earl was like tackling a line, like a 250-pound linebacker.
Yeah, and Earl was one of those more compact guys. Earl wasn't 6'4". I mean, Earl, he was a compact, thick guy who could run. I mean, he had extreme power.
Like Bo Jackson almost.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Man,
Absolutely.
Bo, I feel so bad about Bo, how good he could have been, man. Oh, my God. He was a man among men, was he not? I mean,
Bo Jackson was an anomaly, and especially when you think about the size and speed in his time. I mean, you know, before that, the only person you could probably even come close to thinking about is Jim Brown.
right.
You know, I mean, when you are that big and tall and still can he just fly.
Man,
You know,
Jim
so
Brown, man, I didn't, because that's a little bit before my era, but you go back and watch some of Jim Brown's highlights and you realize and you find out how big he was and you see the moves he made. And I really feel, did Jim leave the league early just because Cleveland sucked? They won championships with Jim Brown. Did he leave? I know that he went to Hollywood and did, was one of the first African-American athletes to break through the Hollywood barrier, so to speak. Was there a reason why but he had, five years in his tank.
Yeah, I think there were multiple layers to Jim's story. I mean, when you read his life, you read a lot of the things he stood for. I think Jim was great enough and had great enough connections. And notice I used the word great, not good.
Right.
But had great enough connections that he could make statements that others couldn't. I mean, almost like if you think about that little hiatus that my favorite athlete of all time in any sport, Muhammad Ali, think about his exodus and then was able to come right back and be on top. It was that same type of statement that I believe Jim Brown was making, because he was the best of the best of the best. Walked away.
Your affection for Muhammad is the same as I have. That guy, I've later gone on and watched and did some research and watched some stuff on Muhammad Ali. They treated him like shit. He made so much sense about, people called him a draft dodger and all this kind of stuff, but he made, in the day and age that we live in, he was so ahead of his time with regards. I remember I watched an excerpt of him saying, like, why am I going to get shipped halfway across the country, given a gun, and shoot somebody that I don't know that isn't doing anything wrong to me and is not invading my country? Now, he said, if I got a bad guy that's coming into Louisville, I'll take arms and defend my house, but I'm not getting shipped halfway across the world. And then he went and they put him in prison, and he did his time. They took his belt from him. They stripped him to nothing, and he came back and won it all, and won it back. And to this day, probably one of the most charismatic. And of course, the ongoing debate: who would have won in an Ali versus Tyson fight? And so, Tazim, what would be your? I don't
think it's even close. Muhammad Ali is the best boxer in the history of boxing. And the fact that he had the jaw he had is what made him who he was, because I'm not going to say he was the most powerful. Obviously, he could knock you out. But we're talking about a guy his size. And Muhammad Ali is another guy who also is before his time.
Yeah.
Because the heavyweights, even today, I mean, I can't even think of another heavyweight athlete like Muhammad Ali.
Well,
think about heavyweights.
And it was that jab. Right. He just kept that. You couldn't get, like,
Look
Tyson.
His
Tyson couldn't get in on him the way
Tyson would not touch Muhammad. I don't think Tyson would hit Muhammad Ali once.
And then he'd get those legs going, and he had a little showman.
He make Tyson punch out.
Yeah.
He make Tyson punch out. He rope a dope.
Because Tyson
punch himself out.
Because Tyson always got. If you looked at Tyson, if he didn't have you done and on the ground by the third round, he got very frustrated. He got real frustrated, and that's why Buster Douglas was able to catch him, because Buster could keep him off with that jab. And one, I don't think Tyson took him seriously at all. That was when Tyson
wasn't ready. Tyson wasn't ready for that.
Yeah, I watched many of things where Tyson was kind of out in no man's land. He just lost, I think, Gus or one of his guys. But yeah, I'm a huge Muhammad Ali fan. My dad, we lived in little Warsaw, Indiana, which is about 50 miles south of South Bend, and we were big Packer fans growing all up in the 60s and the 70s. I mean, dating back to like when David Whitehurst and Lynn Dickey and Jim Hunter and Scott Hunter and was the Hadel. They remember the Packers made this trade back in '72 to get John Hadel, and they gave Dan Devine was the coach and the general manager. He came from the University of Missouri. The Packers just came off the Lombardi era, and they bring in Dan Devine, but they give him. He's one of the first guys to get general manager status too, and
as well as head coach. Which I don't know that Dan Devine had the skill set to do that. Parcells and some of those guys did, but right. Dan Devine, this college coach from Missouri, and he goes out and gives I think 2 number 1s, 2 number 2s. And for a John Hadel, who was kind of on his last leg in Houston, and the Packers then in '72 made the playoffs for the first time, but it was because they had these 2 running backs named MacArthur Lane and John Brockington. John Brockington came out of Ohio State, and they made the playoffs in '72, and then got beat the first round in Washington. And then I don't think the Packers they went through Bart Starr, and then Forrest Gregg, and then Mike Sherman. Like they just went through, a bad time. Well, there was such a long period of futility for the Packers that you can tell how young a fan. I was about to say how old. You can tell how young a fan is about their expectation. You can tell they never went through. They never went through that time period where you weren't winning shit.
No, I remember back in the '80s going to high school, and Walter Payton was doing 220 every time he played us. He racked up 2, and I mean, like we were getting our ass kicked, and we couldn't in the '70s and the '80s and the early '90s until they got Favre. It was it was tough sledding for the Packers. I mean, they sucked.
They were awful, man. They were the bottom. Like, you remember, they was in the division with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers,
Bucks,
right? The Detroit, the Bears, and the Packers,
and in Minnesota.
Minnesota. And Minnesota. So it was like you had a team. We was fighting for the bottom.
We even had John Jefferson and James Lofton one time. Remember, we had 2 of those. I mean, and James. I mean, you can't get any better than that wide receiver wise. I mean, and
they just did not know how to win.
But poor Lynn Dickey would be back there fighting for his life, because we had Larry McCarron up there blocking, and all those dudes, but we did back in the day, back in the '80s, had this badass tight end named Paul Kaufman from Kansas, and he was number 82. He was pretty badass. But it was like you said, you can tell how old a Packer fan is, because if they expect that we're supposed to go 13-3 or we're supposed to go 12, they don't realize, man, there were years when we couldn't beat the Bucks, and the Bucks were a franchise team, like a expansion team.
Expansion team. That's what I'm saying. They were fighting for the bottom with the Bucks.
Yeah.
And
with shitty
who's gonna not finish last?
Yeah. Like, I mean, they would be 2-10, and we would be like 3-9 or something like that. Remember?
Yeah, it was crazy, man. The black and blue division, and the crazy thing is, we were always the team black and blue.
Yeah, exactly. Now, they culturally, one of the, I've talked to on the 10 year of my program. I've been doing radio for 40 years, Sirius satellite radio, the whole 9 yards. And I've had, over the years, these are the Packers that I've had on my show. I've had Leroy Butler, I've had Tony Mandrich, and I've had Brett Favre. Those are my 3 Packers that I've interviewed over the years. And Favre I just had Favre 2 years ago, and he's cool as hell, man. I didn't talk about that stupid shit that he got involved in Mississippi or none of that. Right. But he was good to talk to. I talked to Leroy. He was great. Tony, we had some pretty good stories. Tony was so humble about how much of a bust he was, and how it was completely his fault, because he thought coming out of college, he knew he was going to be tested for steroids, so he lost all of his size, and then he got addicted to painkillers. And he actually said on my show, so I'm not like saying anything that wasn't public, but he was so addicted to painkillers in a syringe, that he would hide a syringe in his jock strap. And when they would go for position drills or something, he'd go ask to use the bathroom and then shoot up in the portalet and sometimes be so high that he'd have to go, when they would do like a 7-on-7 or something, he'd have to turn to the guard and ask what the play was and what the count was, because he was completely gored out of his mind.
He was just out of it. Wow.
Yeah. And he said that one of the most humiliating things was he held out in camp. You know, he got there like a week before they started. He was this highest paid guy at the time. And remember Tim Harris, the defensive end? I think he ended up getting traded.
Absolutely.
Badass. So I guess Tim was doing like one-on-one drills with him, you know, where the tackle sets up and tries to block the defensive end, cut him around the side. And I guess Tim, who was an all-pro and badass, just absolutely pancaked.
Just demolished him.
And I guess Tim Harris turned to the coach and goes, "What the fuck are we paying this guy for?" in front of the whole team. And so I've had the pleasure of having some Packers on from time to time, and big Packer fan. But I wanted to get into, and I reached out to you a while back when I knew that you did podcasting and that you were Christian's father, and I know that you have I think an older son that I think got drafted by Miami, right?
He was with Miami in 2019. He also played CFL and XFL as well.
All right, cool. And so, and I'm a big Christian fan. I remember Christian's, not to bring a bad topic up, but I remember Christian's first play in the league, and I was like, man, this guy's got a 4-yard separation on an all-pro corner. Of course, he dropped it. That 75.
It would have been probably the best first play in the history of football.
In the history of a rookie. History of a rookie, a 75-yard bomb on your very first possession
on a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, on a future Hall of Famer, thrown by a Hall of Famer, on the road in hostile environment with a 4-yard separation. I mean,
he killed him. He was gone. I mean, he ran one of the sickest routes for his first route ever. Because he sold him. He sold him on that skinny post.
On that little hitch.
Yeah, on that little skinny post. He sold him, and I know that Aaron actually talked with Peterson about it, and he was like, dude,
this guy's got a. Well, I mean, I remember watching and saying, this kid's got a whole nother gear. I mean, this guy is a 4.38 dude, and you know, a lot of people compare Christian size to, and you got to have all the respect in the world, but like a Mike Evans, like he's built very much kind of like a Mike Evans, you know, taller, bigger, but very like very quick. Like I don't think Golden's even faster than him, is he?
Not truly. I mean, they have him for a faster time at the NFL Combine, but let's be real. I want you to think about Bubba. Have you ever seen them do a simulcast with Christian's 40?
No.
You never will.
Never.
Christian ran a 4.21. He has the fastest 10 split and the fastest 20 split in the history of the Combine.
Why didn't they ever?
I want you to tell me.
Why didn't they ever do it?
How on earth does a long strider with the fastest 10 split and the fastest 20 split have it run a 4.36?
I don't know.
That's no way. And his game has told you he's faster than that.
Ask Peterson if he's a 4.36.
Look at him play. Now, I mean, 4.36 is flying, but Christian's faster than that. I mean, literally, Christian sat out for 6 weeks, and then he came back and was the first player on the team to be in the top 20
the last 8 games of the season, he had the highest yards per catch in the entire league last year when he finally came back. And I was told, I think I read where I think Christian went down, and correct me if I'm wrong, Pops, but I think Christian went down to the University of Wisconsin, and they actually analyzed his stride and had realized that he was favoring or running a little bit like that was not conducive to his knee wear, and they tried to correct his stride, and I think that they did. Is that true? Is that a true story?
There were multiple layers to the evaluation, um, the stride is not as much as what was causing the imbalance. So he had a couple of little procedures when he was in college, and because I mean he was so far ahead of the guys
Yeah,
he
he's playing
was playing.
Division One AA North Dakota State, where he could be playing at Notre Dame if he wanted to.
Yeah, I mean he was so far ahead of those
Hey,
guys.
can you imagine the kind of grip and the kind of bag he could get in today's NIL if he was as good as he ended up being in college? He would have been 1 year at North Dakota State, then got into the portal and made 2-3 million a year. That's the way it's going nowadays.
Look, he actually had the offers. The difference is
oh, you're good. You're still good.
Okay. He actually had the offers, but I mean Christian he's a loyal guy. I mean he chose to stay at North Dakota State. Why? Because in the very beginning of the process, even his recruiting story is one that people don't really understand.
Yeah, how did North Dakota State make it all the way down to Plant High?
They can't relate to his level of loyalty. They can't relate even when he signed that real low extension last year. They don't understand that type of loyalty.
Well, we got to get into that too momentarily, because I got to think that there got to come a time where Gookie. Now, I meant to open this up, Tazim, with I don't like Gookie. I don't like the guy. I think that he is a large part of the problem. You may not be able to comment. I'm not expecting you to, because you're too close to the situation. But I don't have a problem with LaFleur. I know that they brought in policy this year because the other guy timed out. But Gookie, I don't know that he's that good of I don't know that he's that good of an evaluator of talent. And I think that they should realize that Christian's, wide receiver 1 at this point. They're not going to find anybody in the free agent market. They're not going to find anybody in college. I don't know why they're not locking this. This guy can prove that he can stay healthy now. They figured out the problems of why he was potentially getting nicked up a little bit. And he is, when they drafted him in the second round in 2022, they knew he could end up being this good. Why? I hope we got a lot of time before the season starts. I hope they step up and give Christian his bag and not make him play that final year of uncertainty. I hope that they do the right thing.
Well, I don't think that's really a question that part, the business part will get worked out. And more than anything, it's because I believe Christian has the right representation, and they're not going to let him be misrepresented, I guess is the best way to put it. So I mean, the business is the business, and in a business where you have a number of guys who have shown their discontent, it shows in their play, it shows in how they are as a teammate. You have never and will never see that from Christian. And the way that he operates from a professional level, from a skills and talent level, I believe is absolute second to none. As far as the injuries go, I mean, you're not going to be able to, as an athlete who is going to give your all. I mean, he's balls to the wall. I mean, Christian's going full bore the entire game. I mean, you can watch him,
and he's
even
big.
way back in college.
And for wide receiver, he's big dude. And bigger guys get nicked up more than smaller guys.
Well, he's going to block for. He's not taking a play off. I mean, and quite frankly, there are certain teams. I mean, like there's a story right now talking about the problem with Tennessee, and I'm talking about University of Tennessee preparing wide receivers for the NFL, and the problem being is that they actually have built-in plays off. So
I can't wrap my head around that.
Yeah, they actually have their wide receivers have built-in plays off so that when it's time for them to get the ball, they can go all out. Now, you just need more depth. If you're telling me that your player can't give you everything he's got, while he's out there. I mean, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, and I've seen Christian blindside block, weak side block, in motion block. I've seen all that. Now I'm not saying that there are not other teams on the other guys on the roster that I think have taken a few plays off. One guy we shipped off, Dobbs. I saw Dobbs was a little bit of a head case, I thought, and played. I thought Dobbs. I didn't think Dobbs was as good as, and I hated to see him go because he was a pretty good possession guy. I still wanted to absolutely whip his ass for what he did in Chicago, for the onside kick.
That onside kick was a bit rough. But I mean, I'll tell you, this is the deal for me.
How mad were you? I mean, that was a game. That was the game.
It would have, the game would have been over. And I mean, I have given my full honest analysis of all these guys. I mean, look, if you were to stack the talent in our receiver room on the roster, then Dobbs would have been in 5th. So what it was Dobbs was the most physically reliable, and I'm talking about health-wise. He was present. He was available.
Right.
Health-wise of all of them. So, of course, that's the one that you, as a coach, you can rely. This guy's going to be here. Now, he was also the most limited, in my opinion, in terms of, okay, what is this guy going to give us after he has the ball in his hands? Well, if you are talking about between Christian, Jaden, Golden, and Wicks, well, Dobbs is 5th. Dobbs can't do what those guys can do.
I would have if I'm Bubba LaFleur, I would have probably put Wicks out there.
Wicks is considerably better as a.
I wouldn't put Christian out there because I wouldn't want to get hurt. I'm like that's my WR1. That's my guy. I need that guy to stretch the field. The Packers are a different team when Christian can stretch the field. That's just the facts. The defense can squat us down and shrink the field when we don't have Christian as a threat. When he's out there stretching it, they can't play safety high on us. They can't. There's a lot of different things they can't play on us when they have to account for Christian.
But they can't play single safety.
Yeah, they can't play single safety on that. They can't. You cannot. The average cornerback can't. I mean, Dion probably could.
And if you do, you will see exactly what happened to Chicago in the first Chicago game.
He's so long, and he creates such a great target that you just got to throw it up and he'll get it. So you cannot squat the defense. You can't put guys in the box, like they do. So that it's a noticeable game changer. So if we're talking about onside, you don't put Christian A out there as far as the guy who has to get the ball. But no. Wicks all day.
Right.
I mean, I just my other thing is, why is LaFleur so adamant about calling the plays? Every other team, and you played in the league for however many years, I mean, it's unheard of that the head coach calls the plays. You got an offensive coordinator. Now, you got a guy that's up high that can see the field better, can see things develop. I am a big believer that you can't see the field and you miss things when you're field level. You can't see things develop and how they may be scooching a nickel guy over, or you can't see things when you're on the field like a guy from, like the defensive and offensive coordinators that are in the box up top. Why does LaFleur insist? And even on his last press conference, I think and the Green Bay press is soft. Put me and you in there asking questions, and then we'll get somewhere. But the Green Bay press is soft. They know each other all by first names, and they're like, nobody ever wants to ask any hard questions. But like my question,
you're asking me this question at the perfect time, because I've evolved quite a bit from where I initially was as it relates to that particular.
I'd love to hear your analogy.
Ideology.
I'd love to hear it.
And I will tell you that where you are in terms of what you're expressing, that's where I started.
Okay.
I started exactly there. So
well,
I was
maybe
like,
you can help me. Maybe you can help me
I
progress.
was like, dude, get a fucking offensive coordinator, man. Come
Stop
on.
drawing plays up
real
on.
one.
Stop going in the back and drawing up plays on your fucking deal.
Right. Let me be 100% a real one, because he got a guy who they have labeled offensive coordinator. But if your offensive coordinator is not coordinating the offense, and what I mean by that is there are so many things going on in game that if you're the head coach, you're supposed to be overseeing the whole thing.
Yeah, clock
coordinator
management
needs to be the one has the situational awareness as it relates to the offense, as to what's called, when it's called. I mean, there are so many pieces of it, right? So that part, I think, is what made me 100%. Man, you need to get somebody who can be a true offense coordinator and you oversee the whole thing, because it appears that without a doubt, in terms of what nobody questions, is this guy's a great guy. Yeah. I mean, he is a great dude who the players appear to respect, right?
Yep.
Okay, now
I'll give you that all day. All day.
Let's go to the two extremes though, and why I'm not all the way 180 now. I'm not completely there yet to say that he should be absolutely doing it, but I'm gonna say I'm a little bit past 90 degrees in saying that I understand why he does, but I think there needs to be a different formula. And let me tell you why. Look at all these teams that as soon as the damn coordinator appears to be any damn good, he's a head coach.
Gone.
He's gone, right?
Gone.
He's out of there. And you're like, look, Bubba, let me tell you something. That ain't the same fucking skill set necessary to run a team.
Right.
Coordinating an offense or coordinating a defense is not leading men. That's not the same thing. One of them has to do with football IQ, schematics, and you're actually looking at things analytically in a game and calling plays. You got to be in that mode. The other one is literally leading, motivating, it's punishing, it's encouraging, it's a leader of men position. Like literally, Dan Campbell is the perfect example of a fucking head coach.
Oh, I love him. I fucking love that dude.
He had to take over, right? Remember, he had to take over calling plays.
Yeah.
But not because he wanted to do that. He wants to lead men. He wants to be the leader of the team. Now, the problem though is, shit, as soon as you get a good one at analyzing and coordinating and actually calling the game, people want to hire him as a head coach. I think it's the dumbest shit in ownership. One of the dumbest things the owners do is hire the dude because he was a great coordinator. Like, that's not head coaching. Why don't you hire his ass? Why don't they come up with a system where you can actually just pay a guy so damn much to come and coordinate your team? Don't take away great head coach characteristics. You need to find those. They're different. They're not the same fucking thing. So I think what the problem is with LaFleur, or I shouldn't say problem, what LaFleur has seen, because remember, he is very well aware of what goes on with McVay.
Yeah.
Right? So McVay doesn't let anybody do that shit either.
But my argument to you, Tazim, would be this. How many times, so as a head coach, like you said, you are the leader of 53 men out there, both sides of the ball, and you're managing the game. Attaboys, go sit your ass on the bench. You jumped offside 2 times. What the fuck you thinking? However you are, you need to be. And how many times have we seen him? He does not manage the game correctly because he's so worried about what the next offensive scheme is going to be, and he missed like for instance, like Love comes up to the ball and we should be calling a timeout, and we blow 10 seconds off the clock because we didn't call the timeout fast enough, or Love didn't spike the ball, or we game mismanaged, or we get too conservative. The Chicago, the last game of Chicago is a prime example of not having your head in the entire game aspect of it.
To see the full picture.
And you being so enamored with your offense that you aren't paying attention to your special teams, that you're not paying attention to your game management, that they're running the wrong defense when Caleb rolled out right and fucking was able to get that corner coffin to the dude. So like
but what you're describing is why I'm only about 100 degrees there.
It was 90 a few minutes ago. Now we're over to 100.
No, I said I'm past 90.
Okay.
I said I'm past 90.
All right, I got you at 100.
So what you're describing is why I'm only about 100 degrees there. And this is the deal, Bubba. Think about it this way. If he gets, and I hate to, because I don't know these guys in terms of their full football IQ, their full role, their full anything. But what I do know is that what's happening right now is not operating at the best capacity, or this team will be going far further than they are. So for me, he needs to have a real offensive coordinator alongside him, so that one, if he is going to choose to call plays, that's all he needs to do.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, outside of being a head coach, the offensive coordinator needs to have all of that other shit 100% on their backs.
Yeah, like so as we're marching the field, like coach, we got to hit a timeout. The minute Watson does his fucking 5 and out, we got to call a timeout. If he's not out of bounds,
he has to be because what we're talking about is situational awareness, right? Yes. I think the biggest area that doesn't seem to be going well for LaFleur, that makes people question this, is situational awareness would make you say something ain't fucking right, man.
Yeah,
something ain't right. I mean, I ain't nobody saying you're a bad coach, but something's not right.
But some of his play calling gets real conservative in the second half. We'll be out and we'll go lights out first half, or whatever, and then we're 3 and out, 3 punt, and it's just I think a guy that has way too much on his plate might get that way sooner than a guy that was just a Bill Parcells or somebody like that, old school, that it manages listen, the whole thing is my fucking world, but I'm not going to micromanage. He didn't micromanage the defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator ended up going to go to Miami to be the head coach, I think. And
our guy went to Miami.
And man, took my boy Malik, man. I gotta tell you, Tazim, there were times where I was like, man, let's start him. I like J Love, but I like that 2 kid.
Well, Malik is a different kind of quarterback than Jordan. He's not a better quarterback than Jordan. What I think we should have had was packages. I think you could have really fucked some teams up if you would.
Because you couldn't game plan for both of them.
You wouldn't have been ready. You would not be ready.
Just when they thought it was going to be a 7-step drop back, fucking Malik gets in there and does a fucking quarterback roll around Willie and hits the guy on the flat, or he's gone.
Did you see this dude in that damn Ravens game?
Yeah.
And let me look. Malik is every bit a 4-3 dude. He's a 4-3 guy.
Oh yeah.
Malik can run, man.
And there was rumors. There was rumors that there was a chance he was gonna like take a lot less money and because he has so much loyalty and he was so grateful for the Packers saving him out of Tennessee, but the money just got too big that he can't say no to. But there was rumors that he preferred and wanted to stay in Green Bay because he was so thankful for what the Packers had done for him. And I love that dude.
That actually was his move to the Dolphins was a loyalty move. That wasn't the biggest offer Malik got.
Oh no! It was the defensive coordinator knowing the system, right?
Yeah. The biggest offer wasn't the Dolphins. So even the Dolphins wasn't more of a loyalty move than going to get what he could have. But I'm telling you, man, it's a thing.
That's a good cat, though. He's a good dude, man.
He's a great human being, and obviously we can see how important situation is.
But you're right, and you know what, Tazim, I've never heard, and you're the first person. They should have brought in, had 2 flip-flop packages where they could have brought in Malik in like 4 or 5 times a game, just when they thought that Jordan was gonna, like a 3rd and 9, where you think that Jordan's gonna go back standard 7 pat, get the ball in the shotgun, and then look for Christian on the super fly yippee-yo, and then you bring in Malik, and now you got a whole nother wrinkle that you got.
Well, the thing is, what it does is the defense is all fucked up now,
right?
Because
why?
Because Malik can sling it too.
Yeah.
So you can't just all come down to the box.
Against Baltimore, man, he was fucking putting that shit in there. Looked like Aaron Rodgers putting that shit in there.
That throw he made to Christian was ridiculous.
Now, hold on, but the catch was pretty fucking good too, though.
I mean
that was a good catch.
Christian had to stretch out for it, but that's what you do when you have those freaks like that.
Right.
Don't throw the shit where somebody could even come close to getting it.
Put that shit high where a 6'3" brother's gonna get it.
Go get it. Make him go get it. I believe that is going to be the next step.
But what are we gonna what are we gonna do? We have decimated our fucking team. I mean, Gookie just couldn't have fucked up free agency any more than he did. I mean, I was looking at the year that you got drafted, and I think that might have been in 93.
93.
And so, number 1, Wayne Simmons out of Clemson, starter, went on, had a pretty good career. George Teague, starter out of Alabama, number 2, unbelievable career. Right. Earl Dotson, tackle out of Texas A&M, fucking stud. I don't know if he retired with the Packers, but was solid starter.
He played a while.
Yeah,
though.
Played a while. Burnell, fuck. I mean, had he not been behind Favre, and then Burnell went on to take Jacksonville.
Burnell started and became. I think he was a Pro Bowler for a number of years.
Every one of those hits. If you look at the fucking draft the year before you, Terrell Buckley. They missed on the kid from Penn State, Mark DeFanio. He was a linebacker. He was a bust. Robert Brooks, Edgar Bennett, Dexter McNabb, Mark Chimura, Ty Detmer. I mean, when
D'Onofrio wasn't a bust.
You sure?
Remember, he started out the gate. D'Onofrio tore his hamstring off the bone.
Oh, see, I didn't know that because you're closer to it than I was. I just never knew he'd never really played much for the Packers, so I didn't know. So, but
D'Onofrio started.
Oh, he was good. He was good.
Then he tore his hamstring off the bone and never played again.
And Ron Wolf, and then you go to the Ted Thompson era, after Ron Wolf, and you got Aaron Rodgers, you got AJ Hawk, you got Greg Jennings, you got Jordy Nelson, you got BJ Raha, you got Clay Matthews, you got Eddie Lacy.
Driver.
You got Devontae Adams. You got David Bakhtiari. You got some
Elton Jenkins.
You got Dixon, Clinton Dick. You got Kenny Clark in 2016. Those are good drafts. You look at fucking Gook. Okay. Rashawn Gary, gone. And, really, Rashawn never really panned out. like he needed to, and he only
Well,
got.
I think you, but see, you're hitting his philosophy on first rounders, which I agree with. I don't agree with their philosophy on first rounders. They go too much for the project. But Bubba, you gotta admit this dude is knocking the ball out the park now on day 2 and 3.
Okay. Yes. Yeah, 2 and 3, I'll give it to you. You got Jaden Reed. You got a Tucker Kraft. Cooper. We lost Cooper. You got
that Tom.
You got we had the Marquise Valdez Scandling guy, which
he played a long time.
Yeah, but we lost. But then you look at the Darnell Savage. Gone. You look at
that was the first round. That was the first round.
I know. Quay Walker, first gone. Christian, thank God in the second, because he's still. I mean, thank God, because that's where Gookie tends to nail it.
That's where he starts getting good.
Second, third, fourth.
It's weird, man. It's weird.
You got Rasheed Walker, 7th rounder, but we just lost him. And so
That's because that last year now that last year after they moved Elton to center, Rasheed stunk it up last year, man.
Yeah, he did. and I'm worried. I'm worried about our offensive line. I'm really worried about.
Let me help you now.
Is the Morgan kid gonna?
Let me help you.
Is he?
Morgan is better.
Do we gotta always play him at guard, or can he play weak side tackle?
Morgan is a better left tackle than Rasheed. So I'm gonna help you.
So help me out. Right. Help me out, kid.
Okay, so from left to right, Morgan is a better left tackle.
Is he going to be day one starter?
He's starting
weak
right
side.
Now.
Okay,
that's our left tackle.
All right,
Jordan Morgan.
Let's go
is
guard.
A better left tackle than Rasheed Walker.
All right, so we're upgrading left tackle.
So we're upgrading
that
left tackle.
And finally, we're going to get some kind
of
fucking
healthy Aaron Banks is going to be better than hurt Aaron Banks. That's what last year we had.
Okay,
because look at him at the end of the year. Now we gotta throw the beginning of the year away. And let's look at what happened when he got healthy.
Let's start it when Christian came back.
Right,
okay.
Right. And when Aaron Banks got healthy, and when Elton got hurt, literally that's when we had to move Sean Ryan to center.
Right.
Right. And we found out Belton could play. So Belton has got another year under his belt now because he had to play 8 games, I think it was. So we got a right guard now.
Right.
Tom will be back healthy. Tom wasn't healthy the whole year.
Well, and they just re-signed him.
They did re-sign him literally right before camp last year.
Right.
So he's good to go for 4 years.
Right.
So look at our line. Our line now.
Who's our right tackle?
That's Tom.
Oh, okay. Zach Tom.
So Zach Tom is back.
Right.
He's healthy.
Aaron Banks on the left.
So no. Left tackle is Jordan Morgan.
I mean on the guard.
Yeah, left guard is Aaron Banks.
Yeah.
Right, and then the center is Sean Ryan.
Sean Ryan.
Right, and this is really what we're comparing. Is Sean Ryan an upgrade over Josh Myers? Because the Elton experiment failed.
Yeah.
We took a fucking all-pro guard and made him a horrible center.
Right.
So that failed. Let's not even go there.
Yeah. I'm not going to disagree because we got bum rushed up in the middle.
Yeah, that failed us. So Sean Ryan, in my opinion, is an upgrade from what Josh Myers was at center.
Right.
So we saw Josh Myers was actually better than we thought.
Right.
After he left.
Right. So now who we throwing in right guard?
So right guard is Belton. But literally, as the year went on, we were like, "Oh, we are going to be good up the middle." And the key was who is going to play left tackle. Well, Jordan Morgan is who's going to play left tackle.
I thought they were moving him around because a lot of times you'll get a kid in college it's all world tackle, and then they have to put him at guard because he doesn't have the skill set for the weak side tackle. But you're saying that
No.
So I thought they were moving Michael around because he couldn't cut it on the weak side. The strong side.
You have a great question because anybody watching them saw Jordan Morgan beat out Rasheed Walker throughout the preseason. So when we got to the season, everybody's like, okay, so well, looks like to me, Rasheed Walker is going to sit down, right? No, they fucking put Jordan Morgan at right guard.
Yeah, that's where he was almost all year, right? Right side.
Until
So
Elton
that's what so Tazim, that's what fucking tripped me up is I'm like, listen, they're only putting him on the right side guard because he's not quick enough, to block that, because every defense has their fucking all world fucking edge rusher.
So the reason they did it, Bubba, was to get the best five on the field. But what fucks it up is putting the best five on the field didn't put the best left tackle at left tackle.
No, it actually
put him at fucking guard where he wasn't as good.
So let's say Morgan or Michaels lines up to like a Max Crosby. Are we going to have to chip that guy, or can he hold his own?
Jordan Morgan is a 10 times better athlete at left tackle than Rasheed was. Rasheed was just longer.
Right.
So
and let's not forget, Rasheed also had a bad attitude. He was pissed the fuck off, right? I mean, he was playing mad last year.
Yeah, it was an interesting year. I think Rasheed certainly probably expected that they would extend him, because that's when he was eligible.
I think he went to Carolina, didn't he?
Yeah, and didn't even get
nothing
a real contract. I mean, he got like a really. They call it a $10 million, but it's so incentive laden that it's really like a 1 year, 4.5.
Right.
So you're talking about a guy who they thought was going to get 20 mil a year is playing for 4.5.
Man, I don't know if we're still eating that Bakhtiari money or not, but that ended up being a shit show, didn't it?
Yeah, but Bakhtiari was.
I know he was all world.
Absolute.
But man,
beast.
But I mean, for 2 years.
As far as the Packers are concerned, they got a free Hall of Fame level player for the first contract. So they can't feel too bad about eating it. I think what we can feel bad about is that if he wouldn't have gotten hurt, we'd have won 2 Super Bowls by now.
Probably. And Aaron Rodgers still might be there.
Yeah. Look, man, if you take, first of all, Bakhtiari doesn't get hurt, we're a deep run in 22.
Yeah.
We win the Super Bowl in 23, and we probably win it in one of 24 or 25. Yeah, look, Bakhtiari is right. I mean, you're talking about he was one of the top 3 left tackles in the entire NFL.
And on his last deal, they paid him like that too. I mean, he was at one time. I get disappointed in like the Quay Walker, the Darnell Savage. I get so bummed out because these first round draft picks are just so coveted and I just
and we do the project
and we do the projects, man. I mean, man, we're good. Like you said, we're all pro second day. I mean, we're all fucking pro. We got is McDuffie still on the team?
He is.
Okay.
He's day 3.
Six rounder.
He's day 3 guy. 5th, I think. He's 5th round.
No,
but day 3.
No, 6th.
For McDuffie?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
Bet you a dollar.
I just know. I know he's on day 3.
So now, are you still living in Tampa, Tazim?
No, I mean we have a place in Tampa because Christian and
we didn't get into how did you migrate to Tampa for the kids to play at Plant. Like we never got into like how did you end up in Tampa?
Well, to be 100% with you in terms of location of where we have chosen to live. My favorite place was actually the suburbs of Phoenix, Arizona. We were in the Northwest Valley of Phoenix, which is where all 3 of the older kids were born. So that's where Trey was born. That's where Lexi was born. That's where Christian was born. They were all born
in
there
the Phoenix
in
Phoenix
Phoenix.
suburbs.
They were born in Phoenix, but we lived over in Northwest Valley. So where the stadium is now, like Peoria, Glendale area. So we were there from basically when I was playing with the Giants. So we moved there in around 96. And we stayed there because we said, look, we got to find a place where we can raise the kids, where, low crime rate, great schools, climate. We were just kind of considering all of the things you're looking for when
you ain't going to Minneapolis, brother.
Starting a family. We were not interested. We were not interested in Minneapolis.
Not going to Detroit. We're not even going to Green Bay because there ain't nothing for a brother to do in Green Bay. You know what I'm saying?
So we found a place out there, and a teammate of mine, Felipe Sparks, who his daughter, Jordan Sparks, won American Idol and all that stuff, and so the kids actually kind of grew up together out there, at least in the teen years of Jordan and Felipe's junior, and then my kids, they literally from birth until we left in around 2005.
Phoenix.
And the reason we left Phoenix, so we were there for right at almost about 10 years.
10
right?
years, yeah.
And so Christian was just starting like first grade, I think it was. So he had gone to kindergarten and then he was just starting first grade. And the reason we left, Bubba, and this is one of those where you kind of got to look deeper in the raising of kids experience and say, what do you want to make sure they're exposed to in their lives? Well, although as great as the environment was, there were no black people
in Phoenix
where we were in our neighborhood and in our area. I mean, there were no black people, and my kids were growing up as if we were like an anomaly. It's like, well,
there's no brothers to play with, right?
Yeah, nobody. And I had to ship guys in to play basketball, on the weekends. We had basketball court in the backyard and stuff. And say, we got guys come in from the hood, so to speak, to come and play ball. But we just they needed to have more diversity. And it's interesting, like we're in this country now where we're debating all that stuff, the importance of it. But it damn sure was important to me for my kids to see more people who look like them and our family.
And the culture and just, surrounding them around,
absolutely.
Just different elements of that,
Right.
So how does Tazim pick, of all places? Now you probably played a few, you are familiar with. I mean, you probably prior to moving to Tampa had never lived in Tampa. Now you played in Tampa.
I had never lived in Tampa, but I played in Tampa, and their mother had a stint of her childhood spent in Tampa.
Okay,
she's actually from Kansas City, Kansas, but she had a stint of her childhood spent in Tampa, and shortly before that, her mom had chose to move. It's an area north of Tampa, like called Dade City. It's actually where
I know exact Dade City,
where Michael Penix
Dade
from.
City, Zephyr Hills, San Antonio, Lake, Land Lakes, all that.
Right. So, obviously, so we had been able to go visit quite a bit.
Actually, in Dade City, there's a rough side of Dade City.
There is.
You can take brother to a whole nother level in Dade City.
There's a bad area of Dade City as well.
Right.
But at the time when we were even considering this, North Tampa was taking off.
Yeah, like the Barris, Bruce B. Downs, that kind of whole area. Right.
Right. So that was taking off, and I mean, it's really Wesley Chapel.
Yeah,
it's really taking off.
That's where I live. Is Wesley Chapel.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's really taking off now. So we were like, you know what? We need to really get to an area where the kids can be exposed to more diversity, their culture, more ethnicities, and so we started looking in the North Tampa area. And so we ended up building a house out there in Wesley Chapel. So build a house out there.
And back then you could get a lot of house for your money. I mean, like back, like, you know, like, and you're talking about 06, 07.
Oh yeah.
You could get, you know, like a $250, like $300,000 crib was a mansion. You know.
Oh yeah. I mean, and I think at that time, and we got a pretty nice, you know, size house with pool and all that kind of stuff. And even then, I mean, we probably paid like $4 million, but I mean, now that house is like $1 million.
Oh, I know, a house $1.3 million right now, buddy. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah. So and you know, in our neighborhood, that's what, like, most of the wrestlers also live, like,
John Cena. Yeah,
like John Cena. We would literally be, you know, we'd be sitting at the restaurant, and we kind of realized after a while, like, we'd be on the airplane together. We'd be like, and then we realized, like, our cars are going the same direction. We're like, dude, like, wait a minute, where do you live?
We're neighbors, Cena. I can't see you. What's up, buddy? Did you get to be close with John? That was when he was first starting out too.
I mean, yeah, you know, I mean, we would just kind of, you know, we'd dap up and, you know, just kind of.
No, but so how does Christian go to Plant? Did Plant recruit him?
Well, what ended up happening was when his mom and I divorced in 2009. Right. And we lived in different parts of Tampa. They had decided to move closer to South Tampa. She wasn't quite in South Tampa yet, but she had chosen to move closer to South Tampa. And
like the Dale Mabry, Kennedy, you know, Gandy.
She was right close to, like, where International Plaza.
Yeah, exactly. You know, that's right by where the studios that I'm in right now. Okay. Are right behind the dollhouse. You know, on West Shore. Yeah. That's where I'm at right now. That's where I'm at.
But she had decided to move kind of in that area, and the older two kids were going to private school, so they were going to Tampa Catholic.
Yeah.
And now Trey started out though at Tampa Tech, and the reason we did that was because they had really decided what they wanted to do. So we sent them to a school that they can really start in their major. So Trey wanted pre-dentistry. Lexi wanted to be a veterinarian. So that's why they initially started at Tampa Tech. Of course, after he blew it up at Tampa Tech, he did get recruited.
Oh, yeah, you got Jesuit, you got Plant, you got Armwood. I mean, there's some real in Tampa. People don't realize, man, there's some real recruiting going on around here.
Without a doubt. And the private schools were the only ones who could really do it legally.
At Berkeley, and that's where Brady's kids went, and Jesuit, they can do that shit.
His decision was between TC and Jesuit. And he ended up picking TC because his mom had gone to TC. So, you know, it was kind of a legacy thing. He could go there as well. Initially, obviously, you know, the thought was, you know, is Christian gonna go to
Now, did you know when they were growing up that Christian would be as good as his older brother? I mean, because they were always probably competing. How many years difference were they?
They're exact 4 years apart.
Oh yeah, so if Christian was even good enough to kind of keep up with his older brother, that was a thing. Because I mean, four.
So it would always be so. Put it this way: Christian's freshman year, Trey is a senior. So every time, you know, they would only ever get to play 1 year together. You know,
right?
So it would be. The only way you
could determine how good Christian was is if he could even hang at all, right?
Well, he was able to be challenged in pretty much everything. Trey, the difference between Trey and Christian was Trey was one of those kids who literally from day one, he just was in love with football, and anything that I would teach him, he want to know. He want to know. So
and let's not forget his dad was, you know, formerly from the league, so it was indoctrinated to him. You know, he's not going to be a goddamn soccer player. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
I was still playing, so he got to see.
Yeah.
I mean, as a little kid, he got to see me play.
Sure.
He was already here when I was playing with the Eagles, and then that last little stint that I spent playing arena, he actually was old enough to kind of understand,
Right.
what's going on. That's my dad.
Man, how badass was arena ball? Like it's just so
Arena
it's so
is
little.
great. Arena is not really safe for a guy like me hitting people into walls and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean,
And Tampa
my
for
entire time, like as part of when they always had the national marketing commercials, there were always some of my hits on there. Because
Right.
when I tell you, I figured out early just how to really time it up to where I would blow a dude. I would end his day.
You would just wall wall the shit out of him, wouldn't you?
So that game was very interesting, man. It was like you did not want the hitman playing arena football. It's like y'all better get me out of here before I kill somebody or myself.
Right.
But so it was a very interesting game. But to answer your question, for Trey was more of a technician. Trey was a good athlete, but he didn't have those same absolute just ridiculous things that Christian showed us early. Like, and I'm gonna give you the first story. So we're out to eat, as a family. I'll say Trey is probably 5, and Lord, my phone is talking to all this AI stuff, man. It'll just start talking.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So
man.
my phone just starts talking. But
that phone still won't shut the fuck up.
so we're out eating, and like I said, Trey is probably 5, Lexi is 4, Christian's probably 2, and you remember the restaurant Texas Roadhouse?
Yeah,
and
one of my favorites. Throw the peanuts on the floor.
Right. Well, this was back during that time.
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
They stopped doing that now. This was back when
those fucking rolls were to die for. Weren't they?
Oh my goodness, they are ridiculous.
I could put on 10 pounds right there with those fucking rolls. You know what I'm saying?
Just eating a little basket of those.
Yeah.
But you know how the booths were raised a bit, the side booths. So we're sitting in the booth, and we're done. We're done with the rolls. We're done with the appetizers, and I'm like, hey, look, y'all boys, we better go to take a restroom break before we get ready to eat, because y'all not gonna be getting me up when it's time to eat.
Once I got my food, I ain't going.
Yeah, we're not getting up. So now the ladies are sitting on that side across from us, and the boys are sitting on my side with me. So I'm on the end. Trey is in the middle. Christian's in the corner.
Yeah.
Right. So I get out. Trey gets out, and Christian's sitting on his knees up in the chair. And we're like, boy, come on. He just scoots. He won't put his hands down. He won't get off of his legs. He's just scooting to the edge of the booth.
With his knees.
And on his knees. And we're like, boy, will you get up?
Yeah.
And Bubba, this kid is right at the edge of the booth.
Right. No
hands. Hands are like this. He springs out of that position onto the floor in kind of this Spider-Man position, and then looks up at me and like, okay, let's go.
Let's go piss, Dad.
The entire restaurant, everybody's like, did
you just see this kid?
Did you just see what I saw?
And that was at 2.
He was 2. Now I'm gonna tell you, of course, all of us tried that after that. I think I almost blew my knees.
No, man, you can't be doing that shit, boss. Trey might be able to, but Papa James ain't doing shit. I'm gonna tell you right now.
I mean, I was still.
You were still in the league. Yeah, you were still in the league.
I was still in great shape. But when I tell you, that was one of the most ridiculous athletic feats that I had seen, and that gets into the name. Remember, you were asking me about
Scooter,
how the name came about.
Scoot.
So Scoot, right? Scooter is the full name,
right?
But so he does that, and we're like, okay, we've already seen this guy do some pretty damn ridiculous stuff. Like he decided just one day it was time to walk. Like we didn't teach the kid to walk.
He just one day said,
He just one day
I need to walk.
One day he was done crawling.
Right.
He just
now listen, if I went to Lambeau Field and I happened to pull some media credentials or some bullshit where I had the opportunity to meet Christian and I said, "Hey Scoot, how you doing?" Would he know that I knew you? Would he know that?
He's absolutely. Well, right now though, Packers Nation calls him Scoot. So.
But what if I said, "Hey Scoot, how about the time that you need out of the Texas Roadhouse?" You'd be like, "Man, you've been talking to my dad."
Yeah, he know you had to get that from his parents.
From Pops.
Either one of us. Or Trey or Lexi, but it'd have to be a family. Yeah. It'd have to be a family member you get that from.
I'd be in Flynn. He'd be like, "Man, I'd be like, "Man, I talked an hour and a half to your dad. I could talk to him all day. That old timer." You know what I'm saying? So you guys end up in Tampa, and then Plant, which nice facility. Always a pretty good team. Who was the?
So of course, because of where she lived, they at that time. There was I think James was the defense coordinator, James Harrell.
Yeah.
He actually, I don't know if James is still coaching now. I know he was the head coach at Jesuit for a minute. But
he's legendary in this area though.
Yeah. So James was like, hey, because he wanted to get Trey to come over there. We were like, no, he's not transferring again, man. Come on. We got to let him at least finish out this one. So she was like, well, Christian is hadn't started high school yet. Christian's about to start. Now, mind you, he hadn't gone through his legendary growth spurt yet.
Yeah, because he was like five.
He was tiny.
When he 5'8"?
And then he was shorter than that. He was 5'8", 5'9", going into like his during his junior year. Going into his junior year, this dude probably weighed 140, 5'8", 5'9", 140.
As an 11th grader.
Yeah, going to 11th grade. I mean, that's when did he hit that? When did he hit that spurt?
That spurt, and at the end of his junior year, going into his senior years, where he hit that spurt.
Well, it started during his junior year, so it had started during his junior. So by the time the season was really well on the way his junior year, he was about 6 feet, and then by the spring of his junior year, it was like, oh, hold up. I mean, we got something here. I mean, he was 6'2", 185, I think it was, and
probably hitting the shit out of the weight pile, right?
I mean, looking the part, and his spring practices were, I mean, it was a man amongst boys. I mean, you see him running. He looked like his film was sped up. Like they had this one game where a kid intercepted the ball. Christian had ran a 9. A guy intercepted the ball in the flat. Christian takes off running from having run a 9 route. He walks this dude down.
Kind of like that Metcalf dude did it for Seattle.
It was worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a bigger distance. It was a bigger spread. It was absolutely ridiculous. But so, he had some stuff like that showing up on film.
Now, who was Christian's quarterback back then?
His quarterback?
Yeah.
Oh, what was the kid's name?
Was it Culpepper? Was it Culpepper?
No, he owns a coffee shop there in Tampa now. My goodness, what's the kid's name? I know he and Christian are still friends. Man, I'm sorry. But it wasn't Culpepper yet though. He
Did you see where Culpepper lost his son? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Which one?
The one that was a quarterback that went to Syracuse and played quarterback at Plant.
What happened?
I think he might have been a little bit before Christian, I think. No, he's right. He's right there either before or after. He went to Brad Culpepper, former Buccaneer, former Minnesota Viking.
I know exactly. Yeah. I know the kid you're talking about.
So then he went to Syracuse. I think he ended up starting his final year, but you know what? Wasn't league material, but a good kid, just great kid, great shape. It's so sad. It just happened about maybe 2 months ago. Monica is Brad's wife. And so he was in Georgia, like motocrossing, like driving the motor, like the 450 4-stroke, like hitting jumps and shit. And like that shit's dangerous. Like, that shit's dangerous. And
Christian did that.
Yeah, that shit is don't let him do it anymore. Like,
you best believe he won't be getting on another one of those. A lot of those when he was really young.
A lot of NFL contracts don't let the guys do that shit. Like they put that in there.
Some of them can't even ride a motorcycle.
Right. So he was up in Georgia, like with his fiance or something, and a couple of his buddies, riding dirt bikes. And he hit a tree, misjudged a jump or something like that. Hit a tree, and killed him instantly. And it was just so tragic. Oh my God!
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, this is just not too long ago.
I did not hear about that, man. That is so unfortunate.
Oh, so tragic. Yeah, and I knew that he played at Plant, and I was just trying to time as to whether it was before or after Christian. I think it might have been after.
No, Culpepper did not play with Christian, and I think he came right after Christian's guys.
Yeah.
And
I think he was the classes after Christian a couple years.
Right,
yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Christian goes on, has an unbelievable spring. What's his senior year like at Plant? And then, like you said, how does he end? Were the Gators looking at him? Were Miami looking at him? Were FSU looking at him?
So this is how it went down. I mean, and again, it's one of those indescribable things just because people don't understand why you would say no, but they don't understand Christian. So what happened was, we got to stay in the spring because that's when he gets his first bite, right? His first interest at all, right?
Right.
So in the spring, they had one practice following that set of spring games, and it was that right after that weekend where he, had run the dude down. So he has all this film that's kind of showing up as like, man, this kid might be somebody you want to look at. And I know Coach Wiener was actually telling those schools, they was like, hey, look, I got this kid y'all want to come look at, because they had 3 really high level recruits who were getting all of the buzz, right?
That played with Christian on Plant.
Two went to Indiana. I'm talking about receivers and DB. One went to Indiana. Both of those guys went to Indiana. One of them ended up, I think, transferring somewhere else. But so that next week, I think it was the Monday or Tuesday practice. It was a torrential downpour. Now all these people that Coach Wiener told to come, they're sitting there. They're gonna watch it, the practice. But then the torrential downpour. Everybody gets up and it's like, we'll come back, except for the wide receiver coach from North Dakota State.
Was that the Noah Pauley guy?
No, Noah Pauley wasn't there yet.
Because that guy, because didn't the Packers just sign him?
Right. Noah Pauley actually is who North Dakota State hired after this particular guy who got Christian there left.
Right. Which that's going to be good for Christian with Noah coming there. That's going to be
Noah. I think Noah is going to even be able to
get more out of him.
Communicate Christian's skill set to the team better.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that signing that they signed a new wide receiver guy. And I'm like, where's he from? And it said North Dakota. I'm like, oh man, that's all good. That's all good.
Yeah, no, from a foundational standpoint, I think it's a great pairing.
It's raining, everybody leaves except the dude from North Dakota.
Except for this guy, the wide receiver, and he recruited the Southeast. So that was it. That was his territory, and he also was originally from one of the schools over in Pasco, not Pasco, because Pasco is up where we were just talking about before, but one of the schools over on the other side of Clearwater. I forget the name of the school he was from, but he was from that area, and so he stayed out there, man, and he has he got his umbrella. He's watching the practice, and the rain is not affecting Christian at all. It seems like everything else is just slip and slide except Christian. I mean, Christian's catching, he's running, he's still doing what he had been doing before. And this guy, he literally says, because they told me the story after the fact, after they did the offer, because he gets the permission to make the offer while he's watching this practice. He calls on his cell phone. He calls back.
And he says, hey, man, I'd like to offer this kid the real deal right now.
He said, man, I see a guy. He said, nobody has offered him. He said, he said, this is a P5 guy.
Yeah.
Now, this was back when it was still Power 5.
Yeah,
he said, this is a P5 guy. He said, but nobody has offered him.
Yeah, like this guy, we can sneak one out of this motherfucker.
Yeah, he said, let's get on him. He said, let's get on him. He said, because nobody's offering him. He said, and they don't even know about him. It doesn't appear.
Right.
He said, so let's get on him now and just give him the full court press.
Yeah.
So literally that day, he gets permission from Kleiman. Now Kleiman obviously just has to go off his word.
Right.
They don't see him. So he goes, tells Wiener, they want to give him, they want to offer him
full ride.
Let Christian know, they're going to be back. They're going to come back down with everyone. Take a look at him
and do the big signing.
They're going to keep an eye on him. Throughout the summer. We like for him to come visit. Do an official visit, all that stuff. We even like him to come and do an unofficial visit if he can. Well, I took him on the unofficial visit, and at that point I got to meet everybody, see the facilities and everything. And so we get to the fall, and in the fall you have those two receivers who've already committed to Indiana, and then you have Christian. Those are the starting receivers in 11 personnel. And Christian's faster than everybody. He's bigger than everybody. And Christian also played a little bit of defense. He played safety on defense as well whenever they needed that. But when any time big play, pretty much what he's doing now. I mean, he just running by people.
Right.
I mean, and just making them look stupid. So, of course, at that point, he has to make a decision, and he says to NDSU, I'm committing. He commits to NDSU. This again, we haven't gotten to the actual season. We're talking about in the preseason stuff. He says, I'm going to commit. They obviously they accept the commitment full bore. So this ain't no.
They're probably pinching themselves, saying, "Man, I hope some fucking Gators don't roll up in this motherfucker and steal this kid away."
But they actually, believe it or not, they actually give him permission. They say, we understand if a Power 5 school offers, we understand that. We said, but we want to really know, are you committed to us? And what we mean by that is, like, a Bowling Green, like those schools can't pull you from us, can they?
Like a Northern Iowa,
any of those other Group of 5 types, like those schools can't really pull you from us, can they? And Christian didn't even address that. He just said, "I'm committed."
Yeah. Now,
mind you, we got to learn what that was, because I didn't even understand this dude's level of commitment. So then we get to the season. This guy is a true Power 5
receiver.
Recruit.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, he faster than anybody Florida got. He faster than anybody Miami got. I mean, this dude is ridiculous. And of course, then the coaches start calling Wiener. Well, Wiener brings Christian into his office and talks to him and tells him about, the teams are interested, they want to talk with you, blah, blah. And Christian says, I'm committed to North Dakota State. They're the only team that were interested in me. They're the first ones to offer me. He said, I'm committed.
They're the ones that stood out in the rain, watched my ass during spring ball when not a motherfucker was around.
Nobody else
that shows a lot about Christian. It really does, because he could have at that point probably picked anywhere in Florida to go. A very sexy program.
And he said to Coach Wiener to tell those programs that his recruitment is closed.
Yeah. And the rest is history.
And the rest is history. And they couldn't even take him away from him while he was there, because they
tried like hell, didn't they? And that was
they came a-calling.
Can you believe what college football has become? And the fact that you can just jump in and out of the portal. I feel bad for these coaches. You can't build a roster because, and I don't even know that you can even get on these kids and coach them up the way we used to get coached, where they'd be like, James, Bubba, you two dumb son of a bitches jumping off sides, go give me 15, you know how they used to coach.
The problem, though, Bubba, is the system was broken when they first gave coaches multi-million-dollar contract.
Yeah,
that's when the system broke.
That's a great point, because I never really looked at it that way, and I love talking to you because you got me to look at Goody's draft track record a little bit differently. So thank you for that. You got me to look at LaFleur's offensive lack of, or that situation better. I was deathly afraid of our offensive line vulnerability this year. You got me. You're almost like my Green Bay Packer therapy, and the fact that and which is good, because I think the average fan, and I hope that people go to your podcast, the Hitman Haven podcast, and I hope true Packer fans listen and watch your stuff, because you've given me, and I'm a lifelong Packer fan. I mean, longer than you've been. I mean, right. And I know a lot. I mean, I know unbelievable amount of Packer history, but you got a whole different view and perspective and seat to this whole show, and I think that it's way different than anybody that's doing a Packer podcast. And they think like I do on the window dressing and the peripheral stuff that we don't really know about. You do, and so when you say
I'm breaking it down the exact same way I did as when I was a player and then a coach.
Yeah,
I mean, you got to remember, I coached professional football as well, so there is a way. That's why.
Now, Dion, do you have to coach grown men differently? Tazim, do you have to coach a guy that's a millionaire differently than a guy that's just got a scholarship?
Well, there's a big difference in coaching a grown man. Well, let me back up. You got to coach every player differently.
Yeah,
as a great coach now. Some people think that the player has to fit them.
No.
Great coaches, and that's what I love about this defense coordinator we got, by the way. This defense coordinator we have, and I actually wrote an article on his defensive philosophy that he's bringing to us. But this defense coordinator we have is not a scheme coach. He's a player coach. And it's not player coach like you think, like people call player coach. What he does is he evaluates his player personnel, and then he devises the scheme. He doesn't take a scheme and then say, y'all got to run this. There's a huge difference.
Now they're contemplating, is Gannon going to run a 4-3 or a 3-4?
But that's the point I'm making. He is not scheme specific. He is going to be player specific. Now,
Tazim, let me ask you a curveball question. Could you, in the league, coming from the defensive side of the ball like you did, and playing as long as you did for different organizations, different defensive coordinators, has there ever been, or can you, or is it a, or are people too specialized? Could a team run multiple defensive? Now I know they all can go into the nickel, into the dime from a 3-4 or a 4-3, but most teams commit to one or the other, and they can't flip flop back and forth. Could a team flip flop and be a 3-4 team at one?
Every team flip flops. It's just you're saying one thing. You're saying we're a 4-3 team, or you're saying we're a 3-4 team, but every team goes from even to odd fronts. Every team does that.
Right.
The whole game, you're flip-flopping.
I mean, you may even have 8 guys in the box, right?
The only thing you've committed to is the naming the position.
Right.
You call this guy an outside linebacker, or do you call him an end?
Right.
Do you call this guy an outside linebacker, or do you call him an edge? All it is the name you chose to call that guy. But an even front or an odd front could fit under, you said I have a 34 team, right? Well, if you literally go out there and you call an even front, then it's going to look like it's a 43.
Right. Or how about the infamous Buddy Ryan, 4-6? What in a 4-6? Didn't he have the 46?
Mm-hmm.
You know, but then
the extra guy always down there.
And they had Mike Singletary, Wilbur Marshall. I mean, they had some studs in the 86 Bears or the 85 Bears, whatever, too. 85 Bears. So you like the Gannon guy? I like the pick.
Again, and you have to go and read my article on it. I did it for the Cheesehead draft guide. But the key to it is understanding, and this has always been my coaching philosophy, and it's always been the coaches I like the best. The coaches I like the best are the guys who come into a team and evaluate who's on the team. They don't come into a team talking about this is what I run. Man, I don't give a fuck about what you run. Because guess what? If we got 4 big-ass stiff dudes up front and you come up in here talking about we're going to be running this penetrating defense where they need to actually be athletes, then we're going to lose.
Do you think the addition of the Vikings stud, the Hargrave guy, do you think that's going to make a huge? I mean, do you think that's going to be a huge difference?
It is. If Javon Hargrave is even 60% motivated to be what he was in that Philadelphia defense, that Gannon,
which,
by the way, just so you understand,
know what, you're right. That's where Gannon had him in Philly.
Javon was there when they finished with the most sacks in, I think in NFL history or something like that. It was crazy.
I forgot that was Gannon.
Javon was there. Matter of fact, the guy they were talking about earlier about if Green Bay were going to get Josh Sweat was there. I mean, shoot. So we got one of those guys who was up there. And we need the type of linebacker that Zaire is. I mean, setting this thing up properly.
Now, see, I feel so much better after talking to you than I did yesterday about the Packers, because I thought we had just fucked up free agency that, I didn't know.
We were strategic. We were strategic.
And I think that, and you can help me out here, but I think one of the reasons why we weren't nearly as aggressive is because we're going to get some unbelievable compensatory picks from losing Willis and losing Quay. I mean, I think that one of the reasons, because if you
we're going to get quite a few, but that'll be for 27.
That'll be for next year.
Yeah, that'll be for 27. Look, the key is,
how about the kid from the linebacker from the Colts?
That's what I just said. Zaire is the type of Mike that we needed for this defense as well. So I'm telling you, the people we're putting in the places they're being put. The only question right now or the only missing piece that I will say right now, if you say, well, do we have any missing pieces?
Quarterback?
I think we got to get one corner.
Yeah.
We got to get one corner who is better than the corners we have right now.
Yeah, I agree.
We got to get one.
Now, do we get them free agent, Bud, or do we get them from the draft? I mean, can a rook come in and be on that level?
There are approximately 8 to 10 cornerbacks in this draft that are better than the cornerbacks we have on our team. So, absolutely.
So, what do we pick? 53, 52?
Second round, number 52. If we choose to get a cornerback at 52, we can get one that's better than the ones we got.
Right.
And
well, we got Nixon.
This is the other thing. Because people keep on talking like St. Juice was brought in here to be a backup.
No.
I don't think so.
No, I don't think so either.
I don't think so. I think St. Juice is better in this defense than those corners we got who did that shit that they did in that damn Chicago game last year.
Was it Valentine?
I'm still
Nixon?
shaking my head. I'm shaking my head about that play, Bubba.
Man, you could have defended. Your old ass could defend better than that. I'm just telling you.
Look here, you cannot give up that play. You can't give up that play, man.
And that throw was off his back foot, going out of bounds,
floating,
floated up like a fuck. Yeah.
How do both of them guess wrong, man? Both of them.
Yeah.
They guessed. They didn't pay it honestly.
I mean, I know Dobbs is the obvious scapegoat in that Chicago game, but those two fucking ducks that Caleb threw that made him look like fucking Dan Marino, I mean, there was no excuse that Nixon or I forgot Valentine and Nixon, and they're still on the team, but I think the kid from the Chargers is an upgrade, and then, like you said, at 52, one of the 10 corners that the top 10 there's got to be one of those guys left.
Man, look, unless they go on a corner run, if they start going on a corner run, we need to package some picks.
Yeah,
go up and get one.
Yeah, we're gonna have to throw together a couple to go get that last one, because they know which ones. They know how many. They know where the drop off is. Right.
Right.
Now, how about Luke Van Ness? This is his. I mean, this is the year he's. I mean, number one out of Iowa.
I think that Lucas is going to make the jump in this defense that he did not make in the other one, and the biggest key to me is going to be a coach who lets him loose. Lucas Van Ness he's an elite athlete. We don't need no whole lot of reading. We don't need no whole lot of two-way. We don't need all we need is be like, look, get up the field,
pin your ears back,
set the edge, and when it's time to go, go. And I believe that Hercules will be Hercules in that particular role. Now, and it's time.
And yeah, it's time. Like it's shit or get off the pot. This is because I think what he's facing his 5th-year pickup next year, isn't he? Or
it'll have to happen. That'll have to happen. I think it's like the cutoff is June something. I think so. Yeah, they're gonna have to make that decision soon.
Now, what question I was going to ask you? Damn, I just forgot. Oh, when does, because he suffered an ACL, much like Christian, and Micah is at. I could not have been any more happier when we got Micah Parsons. I mean, that guy is like.
I couldn't believe it, man.
I couldn't, because
the season I was still like, I cannot believe we got Micah Parsons.
Because usually Gookie doesn't pull the trigger on giving up 2 number ones like that. I mean, the only thing I can equate it to is when we got Reggie, back in the day. But I mean, God, that guy is a fucking. I mean, what? So. I've heard from the various places that I've read that he's kind of ahead of progress a little bit. When are you hearing when is he game week 6 guy?
I am so really thrown off in terms of how they're timing him out. That is really hard to accept until I want to wait until we hit some markers. I'm gonna tell you why I'm saying that. It's because I think we're hearing a lot of smoke right now. And I don't think it's smoke from fire. I think it's smoke from some kind of machine that's just putting out some bullshit.
Right.
And let me tell you why I say that. If you time out Micah's injury, he really shouldn't miss hardly any game.
Yeah, like he could maybe be a week 3 guy.
Yeah, it's like
if you time it out.
Talking about? Why are we acting like?
Yeah, if you time it
why
out.
Why are we acting like this guy tore his knee completely up?
Yeah.
Was it an ACL or not? Because if it was just an ACL, and if we do 10 months,
yeah, I mean
he shouldn't miss. He might be week 2, 3. He might not even have to go on PUP.
And plus, he's fucking badass. He's Superman. I mean, he's an absolute stud.
He's a like in Christian's case, you're talking about
on the defensive side of the ball,
level athlete. So we're not even talking about just regular type dude. We're talking about elite athlete type dude. So I don't know, man. I mean, I think people are just blowing smoke right now because
maybe they're trying to maybe they're trying to like kind of fuck with people a little bit, and he's a little bit,
It seems they're trying to fuck with him because, again, why would he not be ready until after week 4?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
That doesn't make sense.
They're saying like 5, 6, and I'm thinking, and I timed it out, and I was like, well, technically, if he set out preseason, which you wouldn't, you're not going to play that guy preseason. You're not just not. I mean, but you're looking at week 3 at the worst.
Yeah, like he could be like literally if we're gonna be real.
He could play week 1.
He shouldn't miss any games.
Yeah, he could be there.
If you time out his injury, why would he miss any games?
How big is he? How big is he? Is he?
He's 6'3". He's in like he'll kind of range from 240, 245.
He's not that much bigger than Christian.
Well, Christian right now is about 225, but I mean, obviously he's considerably taller. I mean, Christian is really closer to 6'5" than he is 6'4".
And what does Christian usually walk like off season weight, play weight? Like, is there a difference there usually?
No, he doesn't go up in off season. He went up during the rehab to go ahead and put on some additional muscle. He did so. Christian got that 225 last year.
Yeah.
They just don't. I don't know if they just don't care or they don't. They trying to make people think he's smaller. I know they list his weight at like 208. Christian hadn't weighed 208 since the damn combine.
Christian, if you know what you're looking at, the dude looks big. Like the dude looks big, you know, like one of the things that I saw one time is they were in the locker room. They'd won. It was one of the games they got back on track last year, and he had I think it was maybe game 10, and I think he scored a couple. It was when he got back and he was balling, and there was
the one where you got the game ball.
Yeah, and they were interviewing him, and there was Larry McCarron. You know, the old center. Remember old Larry McCarron? Right. Now, I know Larry is about 6'4", 6'3". You know, now he's probably lost an inch because he's so old right. But he was standing. It happened to be that he had his microphone kind of by Christian because he's a reporter. Now he's play-by-play reporter guy.
Right.
And Christian was bigger than him. And I'm like, well, here's a former starting center for, I think he started 15, 16, 17 years for the Packers. And I know that he's shrunken down as an old man now, but Christian was
he's tiring. He's tiring over there.
But Christian was noticeably bigger than Larry McCarron, and I'm a big Larry McCarron fan. I'm like, man, that dude's like big. You know, he's big.
Yeah.
At what age could Christian whip Pop's ass? What age could Christian get one up on Pops?
Well, I don't know if that'll be. I have to be pretty old.
How old are you, Pops?
I'm 55 now.
Okay.
I've always had to show him how ridiculous our DNA is. I'll show them every now and then that they still have some things that
to worry about.
They're just not going to catch up to me with.
Plus,
So
Pops,
they've never gotten to my level of bench and squat, and so brute strength they have never gotten to that. I'm fine with that because I actually don't even want them putting all that ridiculous weight on their backs and chests that I put on mine. But he's Christian has pretty much exceeded most of the athletic markers that we've had for the family in areas. I mean, speed wise, we don't have a 4.21. I mean, Christian can fly, bro.
In your heyday, and when you're with, let's say, Philly, Kansas City, and you got Christian Watson. Mm-hmm. And that's your guy. You got to match up on him. How do you defend? Do you take that inside step? Do you disrupt him at the line? Do you because this is where you come from. Like he comes from you come from the. If you're playing Christian, how do you play?
If I'm playing safety.
No, not safety. Corner.
Now, if I'm at corner, my heyday would have to be before I blew my ACL.
No, I know, but in your heyday,
if you're talking about when I was at my peak, of who I was as a player. If I'm against Christian, then I'm using my strengths to overcome his strengths. Now we both have my arms are longer than Christian's. My hands are bigger than Christian's. And
so
Christian
you're gonna try to probably get physical on him first.
I'm going to try my best to actually stab Christian.
Disrupt that first step.
Because I know that if it becomes a foot race,
I'm done.
I'm gonna lose. Right. I was a 4.43. Christian's a 4.21.
Right. So you got to get in there and be disruptive. Get him off that first step. Get him off that first step move, and then try to stay glued to him after you've disrupted him, and hopefully that your D line's put enough pressure on homeboy that he can't get a quick one on you. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing is, you learn all the vet moves too. Now, if I'm able to stab him, then everything else is going to be bodied. So in other words, I can't let him get space.
Right.
Any space, it's over. Yeah. It's over right now. Watch the game. If a guy lets him get space,
now, so let's switch gears a little bit, Tazim, and let's go to safety. Now your support help for your corner, and now it's a whole different ball league because now Christian's getting doubled. And that's probably your best shot right there, coming in on the safety deal, right? Strong side safety, or try to get disruptive, or take that quadrant of the field out, right?
Well, as a safety, I need to have, and I'm actually I play it at a time when we actually had more control. So the coaches I played for, let the safety be the quarterback of the defense, whereas today, you'll see it's a lot more the mic.
Right.
But
you were there like when John Lynch and guys like that were, kind of ball hawking.
Zordich. Yep. So during this time, you had safeties that you felt like were high IQ guys who could run the defense, and they could see. This was Emmett Thomas's thing. This defense coordinator we had in Philly. This was his thing. Who can see the whole thing?
Yeah.
The mic can't see.
No.
Behind him.
No.
Y'all can see the whole thing. Why the hell am I going to have a mic calling the defense when y'all can see everything? Right? So that's why he
now, as a safety, Tazim, are you looking at are you on the quarterback the entire time? I mean, or are you looking at formations and in motion routes, or are you looking at that quarterback where
I'm getting everything because I want to know the full picture. So I'm on the sideline initially. It depends upon personnel. So I got to see the personnel. The first thing I'm going to get is personnel.
Right.
So personnel tells me a lot before they even go to a lineup. because I understand where the strengths are. So if they got 11 personnel, 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 22 personnel, whatever that personnel is, it tells me a lot. Now, one, if they got 10 personnel, I probably don't give a fuck what defense we got called. I'm lining up at 14.
Right.
I'm gonna be at 14.
Right.
Because this is the deal, Bubba. As a safety, I don't care how fast you are. You don't want to have to turn until you have to turn.
Right.
Okay? So what does that mean? You want eyes forward as long as you can have your eyes forward. And the only amount of time you can have your eyes forward on a threat like Christian or Alec Pierce or JMO, the only amount of time you can have your eyes forward on them is at least 8-yard cushion. So in other words, if he's bailing on you, I mean he's coming down on you hard and he gets to 8, your ass gotta go.
You gotta be almost gone. Like you gotta be starting that shit.
But what I'm saying is, I'm not talking about going from stop.
Right.
I'm saying going from you already are moving. So you got your back pedal, right? So how long can I stay here? The only way I can stay there very long is if I start at 14.
Right.
On somebody like that. Now, obviously, if it's a 4 or 5 guy.
Who was two more questions. In your career that you played, and you were there some good years for some good teams, and played against a lot of people, who was the best quarterback and who was the best wide receiver that you had to play against?
Well, against,
yeah, like opponent.
Well, against, I would say best quarterback was Jim Kelly. Now Marino would be better at times, but he wasn't as dangerous against us because he didn't have the same complement of
running back
surrounding cast that Kelly had. I mean, Kelly had 3 fucking Hall of Famers.
Yeah. And was it Thurman? Who was the running back that was badass? Thurman Thomas. Yeah. So you had to worry. You had to worry about that.
Andre Reed.
Yeah. You had to worry about Thurman Thomas fucking cutting it up the middle, right?
Right.
All right. So wide receiver. So Jim Kelly. We're putting Jim Kelly wide receiver. Who was the cat that like? Man, this guy's all world.
Well, I mean, the obvious thing is. Jerry was playing then. So
yeah, that's right.
Jerry was pretty ridiculous, but I'm not going to say Jerry. I'm not even going to say a wide receiver. The most dangerous dude that we had to go against.
Yeah.
And I was in Kansas City. Fucking Shannon Sharp was a nightmare.
Oh, Shannon. You know what? I interviewed him a couple years ago. Stiff. Man, even on the interview, so listen to this, Tazim. You and I have gelled pretty together. We're bullshitting, cutting it up, having a good time. I'm not throwing any curveballs your way. I'm not trying to bust any balls. I'm just, we're just cutting it up, right?
Dialogue.
Yeah, we're just having some good time.
Organic.
Yeah, good interview. And so both sides, we're good. You can see that I know a little bit about football. I respect your where you came from. I respect your kid. We like the same team. So I got me and Tony Mandrich. So he's kind of doing. I've had him on a couple times, and we're trying to do this little show, and it was called Past Packers, and it only lasted one episode because Sterling fucked it all up. So listen. So I got me and Tony. We're on Zoom, and Tony, because he played with Sterling, and Sterling doesn't like to do a lot of interviews. He's stiff. And so, as a favor to Tony, Sterling decides, okay, I'll do it. Just as a favor to Tony.
Okay.
So I get on the air and I'm like, hey, it's Bubba the Love Sponge and Tony Mandritz. It's Past Packer podcast. It's a brand new thing that we're starting out, trying to go track down old Packers and talk about just the glory days and their career and what have you. And Sterling Sharp's on the phone with us here, Zoom, and Sterling had just got off the golf course and he was like, he lives in South Carolina. He was kind of like on his back porch where his pool area is, and we have a good connection and everything. And I go. So Sterling, it's me and Tony. He's like, yep, I go, so hey, listen, man. Let's talk about your playing days at the with the Packers. Some softball, just some, just real, hey, like how hard did Favre really throw? Like, the rumor has it that Favre would sometimes break guys' fingers in training camp because he threw at 9,000 miles an hour. And Sterling goes, and you do podcasts and you do interviews and you know what it's like to get thrown off, right? And so he goes to me like this. He goes, listen, man, you two dudes up in here asking me questions about football. I'm not interested in it. I don't care about football. I don't think about football. I barely watch it. Now, if we want to talk about something that I like golf, I'm your man. But I ain't got any questions to ask about football. And I'm like, I've been doing radio for 40 years. There's not a lot of things that have tripped me up. I can usually roll with it, I'm like, man, Sterling. I mean, I was just
didn't know it was going to go like that.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even after a question
Sterling,
where
definitely you can tell something happened, man. Sterling definitely disconnected, man.
Yeah,
and, obviously, I'm Shannon is the opposite of that, though.
Oh, Shannon will talk to you for 4 hours. Like,
right.
He's cool as hell.
And Shannon is the one who tore our asses out the frame.
Whew.
Every time we play.
and you talk about a big brother. That is a big man. That is a big dude.
Well, he wasn't very big as a tight end. He was a basically, he played wide receiver.
Yeah.
And they made him a tight end
right.
in the NFL. So here you got this dude with wide receiver skills, but he got too big for wide receiver, and he didn't want to run a wide receiver time.
Right.
So they moved him to tight end. But that means he's on linebackers and safeties, and my goodness, he was.
So we end up softening up Sterling, but I pulled something out of my ass. Tazim, I pulled something out of my ass, something like, I know you don't want to talk about football, but man, that pass that Favre threw you in Detroit when you were wide open on a busted play, and then that kind of broke
the ice a little bit.
Yeah, and he's like, yeah, man, I couldn't even believe I was open. I had they were running a dime package on a prevent deal, and like it kind of I'm like, phew. Man, but I was kind of nervous because the guy started out. Here's one of my idols of probably one of the greatest. I mean, certainly top 5 Green Bay Packer wide receivers of all time. Him, Donald Driver. Christian will probably be there one of these days.
He doesn't get hurt. He'd be the best.
He probably would have beat Rice's records. They're saying
he would be the best receiver probably in the history of the NFL,
and on a shitty team. Like, I mean, he didn't have a lot of good teams.
Bro, he was unstoppable for that. What was like about 4 or 5 years. It was
and thick. He was thick too, wasn't he?
He was a big dude.
Yeah,
and I mean strong.
Yeah,
he was big.
Well,
dude.
Him and his brother, man, they grew up like no plumbing and like they grew up with some hard times where grandma gave you a knife and told you to go cut a switch off so she could whip that ass, like that kind of deal, old school, like strong African American mom that did not fuck around, like just would whoop that ass before she'd ask questions,
Oh yeah. No, I remember they, when they've done a couple of little like documentary type things, or he'll go home and we see that house they grew up in. So yeah.
So Tazim, where were you born and raised at?
Well, I probably have a tougher story than they have, because what they don't show is them out there in the field working. I'm from Peach County, so Fort Valley, Georgia.
Yeah.
We worked in the
worked in the field.
Like literally, if there was a documentary of my childhood, you would think we were in 1865.
You're thinking like there's slavery.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think, you would be like, there is no way you all have to do this. Like I am 55 years old, Bubba, and I've actually drawn water from a well. I've drawn more, and I'm talking about the ones you pump and the ones that you dip the bucket.
Yeah.
I've used an outhouse.
Yeah.
I mean, so it's
probably pick peaches. Probably
that was our crop. That was our crop. That's what we had to do. I was a part of my family's economy.
Right. See, back then they would have kids, and the kids would be the labor. And
I started working at 8 years old in the peach fields.
Yeah, that's how your family made it back then,
That's right?
You know, I mean, that's how. And Pops didn't. There was no, I'm tired. I want to go play Sony PlayStation. I want to. There was, get your ass out there and start working, or you get a whooping.
Look,
right?
Man, you want to talk about the level of work ethic that is incorporated into young people from that day and time. I mean, to me, when people say they're tired now, or it's like that's too hard. I'm like, now, do you mean that you just don't want to do that?
You're just tired. You're just tired.
Yeah, you just don't want to do that, right? Because you can't be talking about it's laborious, because that's the word that I think has gotten lost.
Well, each generation gets softer. You and I'm only 4 years older than you. So like you and I probably aren't as tough as our daddies were.
Right. Everything.
But our kids aren't as tough and didn't do the shit that we had to do.
And that's design. I mean, you don't want them to have to go through the same shit.
You kind of do. It'd be good for them.
What I want them is, I want them to learn the same lessons.
Right.
I don't want them to have to go through the same shit. So for me, I taught mine work ethic in a different
in a different environment.
Believe me, they know hard work.
Yeah.
But we didn't have to go into the peach fields to do it. You know what I'm saying?
Right. You guys, it was same drive, same life lesson, different environment.
Right.
I was strict on my kid where yes, please, no thank you, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, that type of deal. And I think that in today's Gen Z, Gen X, I don't know what the fuck we're in, Gen Z now, that
Gen Y?
Gen fucked up, like you see these 17 and 18-year-old kids on TikTok and Facebook or whatever, and they get pulled over by a cop, and they tell them, the police officer wants to just see their driver's license, and they're like, no. And then the cop tells them to get out, and they're like, I'm not getting out. Man, when you and I were kids, we were taught to respect our elders and not, first of all, if you ever got pulled over by the police, that was only about a third of the problems you were going to get once you got your ass home, because your mom, you could get your ass whipped if any of that happened. And today's generation is entitled and soft. They're soft like butter. Yeah, it's a different, and I think it's just the way that they are being conditioned into the world is not allowing for them to even develop the social skills.
Right. They don't even have the level of.
They don't even got to go to school, Tazim. They could just do it. I mean, can you imagine? You and I could never wrap our head around. You could go to school at home. Like we like, what the fuck you talking about? Like, right? Like now these kids.
No, you just knew there were things you had to do.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's different now. There are options for everything now.
Well, listen, Tazim, I would love from time to time just to bullshit with you about the Packers and about Christian. I think I've shown you that I'm a pretty knowledgeable fan about the Packers. I really thank you for kind of taking me out of the fan zone of looking at things and giving me more of an insider perspective, because I do have a different perspective. And I do agree with you. I think the Packers' first pick needs to be a corner. I think that's probably our glaring need right now. I think through your knowledge and some of the things that you've told me, I was really worried about our offensive line, but when you walked me through it, I think we're better than we were last year, right?
We are, I think, head and shoulders above what we tried it out there last year.
And I
think this year the expectation should be considerably better performance.
And now, how often do you get to go? Do you go to Christian's games? Do you go to Glambeau, or do you pretty much?
I do. It just depends on how I feel. I mean, Christian has a suite, so obviously we'll go and we enjoy the game up there in the suite. And but I will tell you that the most fun I have watching a game is sitting in front of my huge big screen TV with my own drinks, my own food. and watching it that way.
If you need to go take a shit, you can go poop, and if you need
to
scratch your,
there are games also where he requests my presence, and of course I'm going to be there.
Yeah. Well, man, thank you so much. I appreciate you more than you could ever think, and I'm going to promote your podcast. Make sure everybody hits up the Hitman Haven podcast, and during my regular show, I'll hit it as well. And I'd love to, from time to time, cut it up with you, my friend. And what a absolute breath of fresh air and knowledge from a player's perspective, from a guy that has a son in the league on a very elite level. One happens to be one of my favorite players. I look forward to if you give me the honor to have you back sometime. And I really enjoyed having you on today, bud.
Hey man, look, I appreciate it, and I certainly, man, we'll make it a more regular thing, and chop it up.
If you ever make it to Tampa, we'll take you out to the dollhouse or something, my man. Hey man,
I hear you.
Tazim, good talking to you, my friend. I look forward to hearing back from you. And again, thank you so much for your time today, buddy.
All right, you're welcome, man. Thank you.
And tell Christian good luck. Stay healthy.
I will.
All right,
Absolutely.
my man. Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Bye-bye.